Next principle is peace. Sustainable tourism should involve locals in decision-making processes to avoid conflicts, obviously, and it should contribute to resolve the causes of potential social tensions instead of increasing them. Last one is partnership. Sustainable tourism should contribute to cooperation on an international level. It should promote intercultural learning, but of course avoid such harmful offers like the orphanage tourism, which I mentioned before. So what does this mean? What can we do? What can we do as a tourist to promote sustainable tourism? First of all, being a sustainable tourist is about being informed and make good decisions. So first of all, get informed about the destination's customs and traditions, learn about critical products, which products are made from child labor, for example, which wildlife is endangered, which products are made from endangered wildlife, and never buy those. Also avoid going to McDonald's and Starbucks, but rather go to local stores, local restaurants, and support the local economy. Also, you can consider a homestay or community-based accommodation, because this is money that goes directly to the local population. You should always think about leaving soft footprints. We all have in our hotel rooms, we have this great signs, don't waste water, use your towel twice, and things like that. These are very, it's more effective than you probably think. But you should really act water-wise when you travel, and you should also avoid waste and use environmentally friendly alternatives. And when you book a tour operator, make sure you book an ethical tour operator, which really involves local communities and doesn't just show them as a tourist attraction. Well, but the best tourists can only be as good as the best tourist company. So the economy is in charge to change the way of economic activities. And well, the basis for this is actually to support the destination. This means the tourism industry can set important impulses with fair trade partnership, alliances with NGOs and initiatives. Also, companies can give financial support of local initiatives because they know best what to do to keep the place sustainable. Very important is to integrate local markets, of course, because this is the only way the local population benefits from tourism, the only way that the local population really gets money from tourism. So companies should really try to integrate local retail, local restaurants, and things like that. Another basic, of course, is to respect people. So companies should respect international labor rights, environmental standards, of course, human rights along their entire value chain, because often companies are situated, for example, in Portugal, but work in another, make traveling possible to countries far away, let's say Cambodia, but they should make sure that the people in Cambodia which are working for them are also respecting those rights. There are also national laws, so you should get, as a company, informed about the national laws and stick to them, of course. This means apply anti-corruption guidelines, pay taxes at the place of your economic activity in the destinations also. And before engaging in any economic activity in a new destination, tourism companies should assess the risk of your action on human rights, the environment, or local residents, and you should review regularly if the situation in the destinations you're working in has changed. Tourism is, of course, a labor-intensive sector, so there are a lot of people you have one project and several people working on it. And companies in the tourism industry should ensure decent work for all and comply with labor rights. This is very, very important. So this includes, of course, that they get fairly paid, that they have recreation periods and don't work too long hours. It's also the protection of employees from sexual exploitation, of course, and there should also be a complaint mechanism for staff. So when something doesn't work right, people should be possible to report to the company. Well, as much as companies should respect the people, they should also respect nature, of course. They should reduce the resource consumption, protect ecosystem, in the best case, they collaborate with local environmental initiatives because, again, they know best what to do. And the activities and measures implemented for sustainable tourism should be published for the customers because this is the only way to remain credible. And if a company takes it serious, it's the best advertising anyway. And the basis of this is, of course, a detailed monitoring of your economic activities. And once the goals have been achieved, companies can be certified by independent bodies, for example, and this makes everything they do very transparent to tourists, and the tourists then can make the right decisions to travel sustainable. Well, last but not least, it's a responsibility of governments to shape a sustainable economy. Therefore, it's very important to create consistent legislation to protect human rights and environment to protect its local people. Because when you have this legislation, companies can stick to that. It's actually that easy. Protecting the environment is another major task. And this does not only include sustainable management and regulation of resources, such as water, food, and energy, but it's also about abolishing climate-damaging subsidies, for example, in the air transport, but also the promotion of agrofuels. Speaking of resources, it is the duty of a state to prevent conflicts, especially regarding the use of land or resources such as water. One example here, there was a big drought in South Africa, and there were hotels, hotel pools and golf courses that were watered all the day, but the local population, especially in the poor settlements, didn't have water at all because their taps were turned off during the day because there was a drought. And of course, this causes conflict when people say the tourists have water, but we have not. So this is a really bad example of governments handling tourism. It's clearly that tourism has a big importance for economy, but locals should never feel that they have a disadvantage out of it. So to avoid conflicts, participation and ownership of local communities is key. This means tourism projects must be planned in cooperation with local communities to make sure the local population is really benefiting. Further, clear regulations on the responsibility of companies linked to touristic activities are needed at the political level. One example in Europe is, for example, the supply chain law, which comes into force this year. So these are instruments which are very suitable. Well, the last thing is governments should also provide information and education. So there is a skills divide in the tourism sector, as we have already heard. Many men who have high-skilled positions, very women who have low-skilled positions, and with education methods, you can, as a state, make training more accessible and appealing to women, for example, and also help boost the productivity of the sector by this. Travelers and tourism businesses also need transparent and easily accessible information about the impacts of their economic behavior and travel decisions. So this is like people must to make a good decision about your behavior, you need information, it's clear. So you need information about climate footprints, you leave, or the human rights situation in destinations, because only when you have this transparent, you can choose the right way of sustainable economic activities. So this can be supported with independent verification and certificates again. But it's very important that these are independent, because there are a lot of certificates which you pay for and which say you are sustainable, but you aren't. But this is another topic for which we don't have time today, I think. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you very much, Leah. Well, I think you got the bullseye on this conference, because your presentation addressed the major points and the more significant points regarding tourism and safety and development all together in the same presentation. So you address the development issue, the positive things and also the negative things on that development, the impact of the tourism on the locals and the regions, the safety and security issues as well, the environment, and moreover, and very important, the social impact that tourism might have in destinations. And I found it very interesting, all the figures you brought, that the percentage of people that travels, and the 80% of the people of the world population will never travel
it's
by
really
plane
surprising, right?
in his lifetime.
Yeah.
So that's it's a very interesting figures that you brought and make people think. Okay, if you don't mind, I will change into Portuguese now. Yeah. Estamos já no período de questões. Eu não estou a ver ainda ali nenhuma questão e gostaria de lembrar que nós estamos aqui, ganhamos a questão. E, portanto, vocês tenham alguma complacência e façam umas perguntinhas, porque senão a gente sai daqui como entrou. Ninguém tem questões? Bom, também não vamos agora praticar serviços, obrigar as pessoas a fazer uma questão. Vai, não só sais daqui quando fizeres uma questão. Mas não, nós não somos assim tão mauzinhos a esse ponto. I want to thank to both presenters. It was a very interesting and productive panel. Yes, that is very true. Thank you very much for both presentations, different but very assertive and very on the bullseye. And I wish you all the best. And as you are, we are a little bit in advance. Okay, we go now for lunch. Those who have the habit to have lunch. And anyway, we'll be back at 1400. Okay, for the afternoon panels. Okay, thank you very much. See you.
Obrigada.